Hello everyone, it's that time of the year again where it's Banlist prediction time. Since I want to be a proper Yu-Gi-Oh YouTuber, I figured it's time I make my own. So without further ado, let's jump right in. I think two very cold takes are Nat Beast and Spell Canceller to 0, especially with the further options I have ahead. Another one, maybe a bit hotter, Ripper to 0. Ripper is a very stupid card in a deck that is otherwise very cool. I think Canine Vanquish Soul, if you cut out the Ripper, becomes a very interesting deck that has to play very low to the ground because now they are super weak to Nibiru unless they play like Chronomaly, Vainamina or however that shit is called. But they have to take like big detours to play around Nibiru basically and can't just get their protection for free. All of these bans here are cards that just make the game not fun if they do what they want to do, so I think that's where the ban list should go and where I think they are going in the modern direction. So up next we have the Graveyard Banishment family of cards. I think Di-Fi should go to 0, Macro to 1 and EEG to 0. Why like this? Macrocosmos 1, it's an engine card in a rogue deck, so for what that's worth. And 2, it's a trap card and it is the worst of them because it also banishes spells, which means a deck like Sky Striker really can't use macro. Even other decks don't like to banish their spells. But Di-Fi and Different Dimension Ground are two cards that do the same thing, which is you go first and you turn skip the opponent while almost having no downside. These and a few others are also going to be indirect Malice and Sky Striker hits, because those decks can very much benefit from using these cards. Now let's go through the current like top 6 or 5 meta decks, because I think a lot of people want to see hits on those, and I understand. I think the most reasonable Mitsurugi hit is banning the trap. The deck is in the modern structures, legendary modern decks, and it's so popular I don't think they can justify just killing Mitsurugi. And I like that Mitsurugi is powerful going second, and without the trap it's not overly powerful going first. Yami is up next. There were some people saying you ban Cups the Yami way, but I think that kills the deck and it's not that fun. Because Yami it deserves to live, I think, even though it's committing a lot of war crimes. I think no change on here, but I think let's just get it over with. Marshmallow and Cupsy to 1. I think the biggest issue I have with Yami is when they start with Marshmallow or with Cupsy, or especially when they have both, and then it just feels so unreasonable to beat them if they either had Wallows going second or they're going first. This also very much hurts their grind game, because now, for example, you could do a play where you SP to banish the Marshmallow, and now they can't really get their stuff from the banishment deck if you banish the field spell, for example. Next, just a very quick, simple, and I think uncontroversial one, Liger to 1. Lunalight is a cool deck, I like how it can go second, and I think Powers Turbo is a valid playstyle, but making 2 Liger Dancers with a soft ones per turn effect is stupid. And like this it becomes much more reasonable to out it with engine cards, and Lunar Knight can't just rely on sitting on Liger, so they have to think of other stuff they can go into, like some sub-engines maybe. Also, I'm a bit sick today, so I might sound a bit off. And the other deck we kind of hit Vanquish Soul Canine already with the Ripper, but I think a semi-limit on Stake Your Soul would be good enough. Stake Your Soul is a card that lets them beat a lot of their... Oh, they shouldn't be banned, they're limited. We're not gonna kill Yami like that. Stake Your Soul is a very powerful starter for VSK9 because it's one of their ways to extend if you remove the normal summon. So I think if it's less consistent to open with like Raisin and Stake or something, I think it's fine. And we've got Dracotail. I think Dracotail is, for the most part, a reasonable deck, but also it's just so popping and popular. I think that limiting Rahu and limiting Lucius kind of puts the deck in a point where you're not really playing Dracotail anymore, and where you can't, for example, justify playing all 3 traps. So that's my Dracotail hits here. I think the deck is fine and reasonable to play. Let's talk about some things I decided shouldn't be hit. We got Crocea, kind of representative for the whole Radiant Typhoon archetype. It's a popular deck, but I think Radiant Typhoon is a very fair deck. And especially if you ban the Dimension cards, which is used to floodgate people, I don't think the deck does anything unfair. And a lot of the reason why I think it's good is because it has a good Dracotail matchup and is a very strong call into the meta right now, where not a lot of hand traps are flying around. But if that changes and you get a meta where like 15 plus hand traps is the average, again Radiant Typhoon is gonna struggle naturally. I don't think it needs to be hit. Here, Habakiri and Prayers are some Mitsurugi hits people talk about. I think one idea I had was to ban Habakiri and bring back King of the Feral Imps, but nah, dude. I think Prayers is a good card. It's not. It's a very strong card, I think, but it's kind of the identity of Mitsurugi now, where you go Habakiri and Prayers and you set up your layered end board. If you can't have the kind of stupid trap, that I'm gonna be honest, an Omni Negate and powerful follow-up, I think it's reasonable to beat, and we want Mitsurugi to get to play. And if you, like, for example, limit Prayers and have this on no change, then now it becomes way more likely for Mitsurugi to just not play, or after you get your first hand trap to pass, and I think that's not fun. And that is it for the hits to the top meta archetypes. Let's talk about some generic cards. First of all, Roll and Lock Bird to 1. I think Roll is kind of like Shifter, where it's a card that should be at 1, so that now they don't want to ban it because Konami, but if Droll is at 1, it's really not a card you have to think about all the time when you're deck building, or when you're playing rather, so I think at 1 Droll is a fine card. Called by the Grave, I think no change. It's a one-off. I wish it was bad, but I really don't believe it will be. Dominus Impulse and Ash Blossom as semi-limits, which Dominus Impulse is also kind of a malice hit by being semi-limited. Those are like the 2 strongest hand traps right now, and they're not fun cards. Especially Ash is a very unfun card, so at 2 these should come up less often. Alright, we get another card here that is Hualos. Hualos is a card that is very much controversial. It's a super powerful card. I think the strongest card in the game right now. But I think I'm leaving it at no change. Into the majority of the popular decks, I think Hualos makes for more interesting games where it resolves. I think at some point when we get more decks that are very strong at going second in Engine, I could see all of the Charmies going to 2 or 1 or something, because it is very frustrating when your opponent does Hualos Purulia on you and you have no counterplay, because now you're effectively under max C, and if they're now also like Cupsy, Marshmallow, and buy a Bellstar in hand, it's basically pointless to play because you're just gonna get cooked. As it stands now though, I think Hualos is important for the game. It's one of the few truly generically good tools for going second that isn't also stupid going first blowout card. That's it for the things that are going away or that are staying where they are. Now I've got the fun section. I think these are the cards that should move up or off of the ban list. Electromite to 1. At 3 maybe not, but I think the Pendulum decks really deserve the love. And things aren't going to be too crazy because Pen decks still inherently suffer from being bad at going second, and they don't have too much stuff they can actually go into nowadays because there's no Baron, Savage, Appaloosa. And if you're playing Pendulum to make, I don't know, freaking Gallant Granite to search the Magnets card, why are you playing Pendulum cards? the best Pendulum archetype DD can't even use it because DD locks themselves into their own archetypal cards. Premature Burial. I have no idea why that card is on there. It's literally just a worse Monster Reborn. But it's an equip spell, so it has synergy with the Doomsy archetype, which gets support, and I think it would be interesting to see if they can use that card more well. Mirage of Nightmares is 0 points in Genesis format and not very good there, so I think this card can also come back. I think it's a Giga Win More going first card, even then. Like, what deck's gonna be using Mirage of Nightmares to like full effectiveness? Also, Monster Reborn, speaking of why is this card at 1, just put it at 3. It's an iconic card, and I think Monster Reborn at 3 could maybe see players in some strategy. It's an interesting board breaker and extender, a little bit. Yeah, no, it's not gonna see play. But we're far from done here. We got a few more fun cards. Mr. Block Dargon. The Lego Dragon. I think it's gonna be a cool buff to Magnet Warriors, and with Nat Beast banned, I think Magnet Warriors doesn't go into any stupid floodgates. So them being stronger is fine. What are they gonna go into? There's no Omni Negates really, there's no floodgates really. And if they find something that's too stupid, you can just get rid of it. I think bringing back these powerful engine enablers is in general like it would. Speaking of, this is a hot one. Hit colors. But I believe the best way to make the meta more diverse is to give the rogue decks better options, and I think the graveyard and mill-based decks and pile decks really haven't been doing so hot lately, and I think bringing back Kit colors would be a big boon to them. Without the Ishizu millers, I think tier limit isn't a big deal. It would be good for it, like there's not many of the dimension cards left, but also I think tier limits is just in general a bit exploitable with how they need multiple combos and in general big engines, because like you can't run 12 hand traps at tier limits, you're just gonna mill nothing. So they are very vulnerable to strong going first decks. Another fun card. Verte. Why make Verte? You can make SP, which takes the same materials, doesn't lock you, and doesn't force you to play 3 Garnets. But I think decks that want to really make Verte into Dragoon, I don't think it's a problem. I think playing 3 or more Garnets to be able to make a boss monster after everything you have got negated is fine. Overall, I think Verte is a fairly well-designed card, because it has an actual cost to using it. In deck building, you need to play 3 cards you really don't want to draw. For example, you need to play Red Eyes Fusion, which is a shitty draw because you can't use it, and you need to play the 2 vanillas, or at least 1 vanilla. You can't summon after you use it, and it takes up board space, so that's something. Then I got 3 more cards, which are, I'm a bit biased with it. OSS Unhit. I think it's a bit realistic seeing how they have been slowly unhitting Snake Eyes, and with the new Dark Magician support, I think it would be kind of interesting to see what the fire decks can do if they can use the Azamina engine. And nothing Snake Eye does inherently, I think, is toxic or not modern standards, like there's no Appaloosa. It's a link-based deck, it's vulnerable to graveyard hate and back row hate, so I think it's a fine card. And then lastly, to change up the meta a little bit. The Unhit or Detonator and Ext. Now, hear me out, okay. We all agree that good card design is cards like Tattoo Dracotail that are useful going first and better going second. Extrazial is a card that is a good starter going first, but it has a proper lock. It locks you into rank 4 XCs, which means you can't really splash it all that well. But then going second, it becomes a small board breaker, it summons itself, it sends 1 for cost, so usually Valon or, do we have them here? Aggregator or Valon. Oops, yeah. And so it gets rid of one card the opponent has, and it chain blocks itself. So obviously it's a super powerful this thing breaker going second, but I think that's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Needs. I don't think games become less interesting because extra Ryziel is drawn. And Ryziel Detonator, I don't think it's justified to have him at one. Like, if Ryziel gets to a point where they're making 2 detonators, I'm happy with it. I'm rather dealing with 2 detonators than a detonator and a Bagooska or something. And with the release of Cool Tune, I think it's just having such a key piece to Ryziel be limited and thus super vulnerable to extra deck rips, I think isn't fun. So these are the ones I would do to make an archetype I think is very well designed and powerful, a bit stronger without making it more toxic. And if this puts Ryziel into a position where it becomes very annoying again, you can ban Cross, for example. So that's my list. I think this would make Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot more interesting and fun if you had this list, because this takes care of most of the cards in the format that are unfun. Because, as it's maybe obvious, I really like the current format, and I think this way you mostly keep it that way, but you curb the power of some of the decks that are too annoying. So, let me know if you like these more unedited videos. I'm still gonna have a few cuts in here because I'm sneezing and stuff. And if you like this, I'm gonna make more tier list style videos maybe. So, have a nice day everyone. See ya.